Hello, in this video we're going to be creating the game over screen and adding it into our game. So if we take a look at the original, as soon as we die we go into a blue screen that's basically game over screen. It shows whatever points we've accumulated. We can press the select button to go between continue and stage select. If we select continue, it'll go to the stage that we were last playing. Otherwise, if we go to stage select, it'll go to the boss selection stage screen. So stop that. We're going to go over here. I'm starting at the very beginning because there's one change I ended up making. We start at the very beginning, we finally make it to the main scene. By that time, he actually falls into the scene before it even starts. So we're going to see that that is now fixed. So we're just going to skip ahead. So he's nowhere to be seen now, because that's been resolved. So what I'm going to do is, I just killed the Kamodoma. I'm going to go get some points. And we're also going to show one other thing that we have resolved in this. So I'm going to choose the magnet beam. I'm going to spend some of the magnet beam energy. And if you've noticed in all the previous other episodes or videos that whenever the scene reloads, basically all the items refill all their energies. We're going to resolve that now. So now I'm going to get full life again, but my magnet beam should not have full power. So I'm going to hit enter, and there. So now it remembers how much energy was last that it last had for his death. So now we're going to die. Let's go die. And I'm going to die one more time for my last life. I'm just going to E to explode. You see I have 6100. Now we're on my game over screen. So it shows my score that I had, my total points, and I can press the down arrow, I can press the up arrow on the keyboard, and I can select between them. If I hit continue, it's going to go to the previous one. But if I hit stage select, it's just going to go to an empty scene for right now, because that's going to be the next video. And I'm just going to start it one more time, let's get ahead. Now we're going to see that it's going to go back to the beginning, so let's get some points again. The long intro. I'll just kill the Kamodoma. Let's get 300. Die. And then we're going to die again. I'm just going to press E up there. Ignore the error. And I'm going to die again. So now, I'm going to go back here. I can select between these, but this time I'm going to hit continue. So now, my score should be 0. So there, we reset my score. So we're going to basically build that screen today and add that in along with the other changes. So let's get started. Alright, we're back. So open up your previous project if you've been following along. If you haven't, all the projects are up on my GitHub. There's a link in the description. All the assets can be found in the project, this one, which I believe is number 31. And so you can go download those. Basically, all we're going to need for this is the little arrow and the game over music track. The image, we're not going to basically bother with this image. It's just as a template to see how it's laid out. So basically, we're going to use Text Mesh Pro text for the game over message, the font for the score, and these, and then the little image is going to go in here and just jump to whatever location we want it to when we're pressing the up and down arrows. And that's basically the arrow that's right over here. So we're going to first move this out of the way. I'm going to make some changes. So in the game manager, I've been calling everything as a game state. Well, I'm actually changing that so everything is a game scene. So first thing we're going to do though in our main scene is I need enemies so that I can get score. So we're going to enable all those guys. And then what we're going to do, let's just save that for right now. And then all of our scenes, we're going to rename the scenes. I have spaces in all these names, so we're going to rename them to match the enumerator names. So I'm going to click this. We're going to rename that. Just take out the space. Same with that. And then the same with the one that we're on. And yes, we're going to reload it. And this object at the top has got the same name, so we have the scripts attached. We're going to do that too. We're going to take out the space on those. It's not necessary, but we just do it anyway. And we're going to go over to the intro scene. Take out the space there. Save that. And then over to the title screen. Save that. So we're going to start with the code changes first. So I'm going to refresh this. Okay, so this is basically the MP3. We'll take that over at the end. But we're going to start with the game manager. So open that up. So what I have here is I have a couple strings. One's called next scene name and another one's called last scene name. That's basically going to be tracking the scenes that we're on and that we were on. So we're going to add those in. And then I'm going to in the last video I hard-coded our player lives to 3. Well, now I have a public int for it, so you can modify it on yours if you'd like. And we're going to initialize it to 3. And then here we have all the enumerators for what I called game states originally, which is what I called it, but now we're going to rename it to game scenes, and we're going to add in the game over and the stage select. So we're going to send that over. And then I'm going to bring this into the awake so that when the game manager first gets created, we're going to reset the player lives and we're going to reset the points collected. So everything starts off at the beginning, and that's basically going to override this player lives equals 3 thing. And then all the on-scene loader, the loop here, we're going to change everything from scene to state, and then we're going to add in our game over one. So send all that over. And then the same thing for the update loop, along with our game over that we're going to be creating, game over loop. And then what I have here are a couple functions, same names, just different parameters. Get scene, or if you pass it one of those enumerator scene names, it'll pass back the string name of that, which is basically the same as the enumerator name. And then, or you can pass it the string name of the scene and convert it to the enum. So we're going to need those. And then in our start next scene, now this is it's 2 versions of this one also. This first one where it accepts no parameters is just going to start the scene that we were last on. And then the other version, which will actually start the scene that you want it to start on based off of the enumerator that you pass to it, so called game scene. So we're going to send those over. And then down here in our title scene loop, we hard-coded it to say intro scene. Well, intro scene is going to, or the title scene is going to pass over what scene it wants to start after it. So that's where these names come in. So we're going to send that over. And then down here in the intro scene loop, same thing. And then we're going to add in our start game over screen. So this is what gets called first, which we're going to disable any game pausability. There's no pausing when you're on the game over screen. And the screen loop, we're going to send that over. And then down here, so in the very beginning, if you actually start on the main scene, he doesn't really move much. He doesn't fall into the scene before the player, the player ready thing finishes and everything like that. So, but if you start from the very beginning, from like the title screen to the intro, he actually falls into the scene while it's showing ready. So we're going to solve that. So basically, we're going to move the freeze player into our start main scene. And then we're going to comment out this restore player weapons. We're going to deal with that. And then the sound for that scene is going to be handled inside the actual scene itself. So we're going to get rid of that. And then down here, we're just going to comment out freeze player inside of the main scene loop because it's handled up here at the start of the main scene. And then over here, this is when the game is not over yet. So when the next scene is called, what we're going to do is we're going to pass it the stage select. So you finish the scene, it's over, and you didn't die. So we're going to go jump over to the stage select. So we're going to send that over. But this is if the game is over, and when the game is over, we're going to check how many lives do we have? If we have more than 0 lives, we're just going to play the same scene over again. But if we are out of lives, then we're going to jump to the game over screen. So, or game over scene. So we're going to send that over. And then we're going to create this new function called get score points. It's going to be public, so you can basically get whatever the player score is from anywhere from the game manager. So I'm going to send that over because the game over screen is going to need that. And down here, this is a copy of fill weapon energies that's in the player controller. So the game manager can fill up the weapon energies. And then down here in player defeated, we're going to say we're going to take 1 life off as soon as he gets defeated. So it's going to be basically decrement here every time this gets called when the player dies. So that's going to go there. And then we're going to add this new public function here. It says reset player lives, and whatever our public int is set to is going to basically get set over there to our internal variable. So we're going to send that over. And then what we also did here with the reset points collected is I changed this up a little. So I added a new parameter here, reset level points. We're going to default that to true. And we reset player score was originally set to false. We're going to set that to true also. So you can call this, because it's reset points collected by default, you should be thinking, yeah, you might want to reset everything. So we're just going to say true and true. So you can call it with no parameters. So we're going to send that over. So if that's set, we'll reset it. If that's set, we'll reset it. And we basically clear out the bonus score regardless. And then this line, we're going to get rid of. So now those are identical. Delete that. Okay, so save that. And then over in the player controller, all we're adding in is we're going to be calling restore player weapons. So when the player starts in the scene, all the weapons are going to get filled up, but after that, we're going to call the game manager's restore player weapons, which will basically have a copy of all those weapons with whatever they were, the states that they were in. So that's how the remembering is going to work. So we're going to send that over, save that, and that ends that part. So now we have these things with the scenes themselves, and so we're going to do those next, and that is basically, now that we've changed the enumerator from game scene to game state to game scene, we need to change these game managers in here. So that one's already okay. So then we're going to go look at the intro scene. So now the intro scene, we're going to switch that to intro scene and save that. Then we're going to go look at main scene, game manager, and that should be set to main scene. Save that. So now if I come back over here and I refresh, our scenes are all good except for the ones we haven't created yet, so that's fine. Now the code. So let's start with the titles. So originally you just say start the next scene. When he goes over another one, you basically hard code it to in the loop to call whatever scene you want. Well, we're going to say from this scene, it's going to pass the game manager, game scene enum, so we're going to say, okay, start the intro scene for me from here. So we're going to send that over, save that. And then the intro scene, same idea. So the intro scene is basically going to say, okay, I'm done, call the main scene. So we're going to save that. And then on the main scene, we took out the audio player from the game manager and we're going to put it in the actual scene. So we're just going to put that over there. And then down here, we're going to say game manager. So the first one was the level points and the other one's the player points. So we want to reset the level points, yes, but not the player points or the player score. And then what we're going to do is when the main scene is over, it's going to call itself again. This is just a test scene. This doesn't really matter because what we're going to do at the very end is we're going to rebuild Bomb Man level. When Bomb Man's level is over, it goes back to stage select. So that should technically be called stage select there. So now that's done. That just leaves the new stuff. So new things. First thing is we're going to send over the new MP3. We're going to send over our arrow graphic, and then we're going to send over the scenes in the game over script. And there, those are all the changes. So with that done, we're going to let this thing load back up. Okay, so now that we have new scenes, we need to add them to our build settings. Otherwise, when we try to call them, it's going to go like, I don't know what this is. So we're going to add in the game over scene. And so that was actually, if you go to File, Build Settings, so the game over and the stage select. So we're going to add those in. Then we can close that. Let's take a look at the stage select screen. So now we're going to bring this over, and it is a completely empty scene except for some text that just says stage select, because the next video is going to be devoted to building out a replica as close as I can make it to the original Mega Man stage select, including Dr. Wily's animations and the UFO flying in and picking them up and taking them off. So that's that. So now we're going to go take a look at the game over scene, what this whole video is about. So the game over screen is basically composed of, if we take a look at the canvas here, the main camera actually it's got this blue color, and everything else is basically the default, same as the 1.5 size on the projection, everything like that. And on the canvas, we have everything anchored to the center, and we have all these are all Text Mesh Pros, and the game over text, which is this is basically kind of like static. The score text, which uses a template, which we'll see in the code. It's basically you're going to have the font size, and it's going to be monospacing. So it's all, these are all monospace, so they'll all be the same consistency with the width of the font for each character. And the continue text is going to be in the set in a static place. The stage select text, same thing. And then the arrow selector is going to basically move when you're pushing with the keyboard. So these are all positioned in such a way, and if you need to see where, just click over here. You can see all the settings. So that's the game over. It's actually going to be easier if you just go and download the scene, the project, then you can get the scene files and you can open them up and check them out yourself. And then the score text, that's the positioning for that. Then the continue text, stage select text, and then the arrow's position. And the arrow uses an image. Nothing special about that. And so that's that scene. So then we're going to go look at the code. So the code for this, if we go to scripts and scenes and then game over scene. So this is the script for the game over, which is attached to an object in the scene so that it's running. So in here we have the flag for calling the next scene, so we picked either continue or stage select. We have the game over music clip, which is going to be serialized, so we can attach it through the inspector. Text Mesh Pro, since all the text except for the score is basically static, all we need is a handle to the player's score text. And then we are going to get the transform of the arrow selector, and that's going to be assigned through the inspector too. Then we have the position of where the arrow is, and that basically this index is the index in this vector array, which basically is this is where it's pointing to continue, and this is pointing to stage select. So these are the locations of where the arrow is going to be on the screen. In the awake function, we're going to, since we default to 0, which is continue, we're going to get the continues position and assign it to the arrow. So local position, because it's a canvas element. And then we're going to update the player score using the string format, and then we're going to call the game managers get score points to fill that in. And then what we're going to do is on the start, we're going to start our music, full volume, the game over clip, no looping, so it just plays once. And then inside the update function here, when we press the up arrow on the keyboard, we're going to decrement our arrow index. If it goes below 0, we're going to basically put it to the length -1. So basically there's 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. That's only 2 elements in the array, 0 and 1. Those are the indexes. And then we're going to update the position on the screen for the arrow. And then to get key down, we're going to increment the arrow index instead. If it goes beyond the 1, it goes back to 0, update it. And then when we press enter, we're going to use the enter key or the return key on the keyboard to signal that this is what our choice is. We're going to see if we're going to, next scene is not called, so this only happens the one time. We're going to say call next scene. This is nothing new. This is just like the title screen and the intro screen that we use this coding. And then what we're going to do is from the game manager, we're going to reset the player lives, which is going to put it back to 3 or whatever you have set on that public integer. And then we're going to reset the points collected. We're going to say false. So we're not going to reset the level score because you're going to, if you're doing continue. And if you do stage select, it's just going to get overridden anyway based off of which stage you pick because it's all random. And then you're going to pass true, so you're going to reset the player lives, or no, I'm sorry, the player score. So the player score is going to go back to 0. And then depending on which index it is, those 0s to select to continue, or 1 is if we selected stage select. If we select 0, we're just going to call the same scene. No parameter, we're just going to call the same scene again, so it plays it again. But if we pick the stage select, then we're going to just call the stage select scene, which was not built out yet. So we got that little placeholder for it. So that's basically the game over script. And so now we check it out again. We're going to start at, start at the title, start it up. I'm going to skip the intro. Mega Man should not start already falling into the scene. He should be locked above, which he is. And there he comes in. I'm going to die. And actually what I'm going to do is kill the Kawandoma. And then we're going to give ourselves... Who's that? I forgot what it was. Anyway, let's just go get it the other way. Actually, it's on the player. Let's give ourselves Magnet Beam, Firestorm. Let's give ourselves all these things. So there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the energies on some of these so that we can make sure that it carries over after the scene reloads, which it should. Give that guy 0. Magnet Beam will do in half, 14. So there. So now if I hit enter, there. So those are all the current. So I'm going to die. And now when the scene reloads, I should have the same energy levels for all my weapons. So that's been resolved. Scene reloads, everything's saved. So now I'm going to die my 300. I should get my game over screen. Here's my 300, and I can select between these. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to go back. I should have 0 score now, and full energies, because I started all over. And that's basically it. Brings us to the end. So if you enjoyed it, learned anything from it, give it a like. I always appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you can subscribe. Almost done. I basically calculated there's probably going to be 7 more videos after that, and that's when I'm calling it a wrap. So it's not 100% set in stone, but the next one's going to be the stage select, which will leave 6 after that, and the goal that I've come up with is I'm going to try and rebuild the Bomb Man level from scratch, and so it tries to behave as close as I can to exactly like the original game. And so that'll be quite an undertaking. And so that'll probably be video number 38. I still have ladders. checkpoints and a couple enemies in the mix to throw in there to be able to do that level. So that'll be the bomb man level. So anyway, that brings us to the end. So stay safe out there, have a good day, and I'll catch you at the next video. Bye.